A patriot is an individual who is willing to stand up against one's own government when the government is wrong. Unfortunately, these days, that's quite frequent. A few years ago, during the presidential campaign, there were a few who coined the term of revolution. And indeed, I endorse the idea of revolution. I endorse the idea of an intellectual revolution. And that's, to me, very important. So the intellectuals who have given us this mess that we have today have to be challenged on the issues themselves. For instance, the economic system that we're suffering from is not free markets. It's Keynesian intervention, inflationism, driven by a Federal Reserve that we need to get rid of. Now, for too long, we, the people, have been too complacent. For too long, the Congress especially have been complacent and given up all its responsibilities and prerogatives in allowing the executive branch and the judicial system to run roughshod over us. Today, though, I am convinced the people are waking up and they said enough is enough. I believe we can agree on the fact that the government we have in Washington, D.C. is too big. You know, we're in this economic crisis because we spent too much money we didn't have, we borrowed too much money, we regulated too much, and we printed too much. So the predictable crisis arrived, and something bad is coming. And when it comes, what do the people in charge do? Is they spend more money, they borrow more money, they print more money, and they come up with more regulations, and they think it's going to help. We have to start from scratch. We have to start from scratch in deciding what the role of our government should be. The founders went through that. They didn't like the role of the government under the king. They said the role of government should be different. The role of government ought to be there to protect our liberties. The role of government ought to be there to provide a strong national defense. The role for the government ought to be giving us a sound currency, not a few people in secret rooms that have monopoly control over the money supply and the interest rates. That's not in the Constitution. We now are suffering from the prosperity that has accumulated with debt. So it's not real prosperity. If you're in trouble, and I say, well, the solution is go out and buy a fancy new car and you're going to feel better. Nobody does that except in Washington. They go out and they spend money and think that the country's going to feel better. It's absolutely the wrong thing to do. Free market economics teaches that if the government, in particular the Federal Reserve, produces bubbles and gets the economy out of whack, you have to allow corrections to occur. We are not likely, matter of fact, it's virtually impossible for we as a people to pay this astronomical debt, which is growing exponentially. So unfortunately, the bad message is it's going to end badly because the debt will be liquidated. That doesn't mean it'll be liquidated like you would liquidate your debt if you had to go through bankruptcy, file for bankruptcy, and debt would be dissipated and be liquidated. Countries don't do that. They're much more corrupt, and they counterfeit their way out of it. The central bank, especially the chairman of the board, is more powerful than the president because he gets to print, create the reserve currency of the world, determine how much money supply there should be in the world, and what interest rate should be. That's way too much power. He is a counterfeiter, and he is a taxer, because if the Congress passes bill, and they don't have the money, the Fed prints the money, your prices go up. That's a tax on it. It's the wrong thing to do, and it has to stop. You know, there's a couple of images of America. The image that I like to think about, and so many of us are fighting for, is the image of America that is self-reliant, self-dependent, hard-working, believe in the work ethic, believe in the marketplace, believe in sound money, and believe in voluntary cooperation, and a tax system that allows you to keep what you earn. That's what we should have. Now, it is my opinion that if you truly believe in liberty and you truly believe you have the right to keep what you earn, you have to truly believe that we get rid of the IRS and the income tax. unfortunately, and one of the reasons why you're so motivated is the image of America has changed. We're debtors. We're the worst debtor in the history of the world. We have a currency that's destined to fail. We're indebted over our heads, and the government is bigger than ever. Our civil liberties are being undermined. We're pretending we can police the world and take care of everybody while ignoring our people at home. And our image is that of one where we are invading and bombing and threatening and using all sets of techniques overseas that undermines our liberties here. So our image is exactly opposite of what the founders wanted it to be. And of course, Eisenhower warned us. He says, watch out. If you're not careful, the military-industrial complex will eat our lunch, and that's what they're doing today. Cut government back to its constitutional size. Isn't it amazing that we're talking about the constitutional right for the states to nullify bad federal laws? I went to Congress quite a few years ago, and I believe my role would be to go and vote the way I promised, the way the Constitution says, even if I would be alone, and that not much would happen, that it would be probably not noticed, and someday I would go back home and hopefully leave a record that people would notice someday in the future. Today, though, I am pleasantly surprised to find out there are so many of you who really care, and you're sick and tired of what you have in Washington, D.C. The purpose, as far as I'm concerned, for all political action is to preserve liberty. That should be the goal. It shouldn't be for any special interest. Preserving liberty means you have a strong national defense and you have free markets and property rights and all these things. That is what the Constitution was written for, and it had a lot of prohibitions. Not against the people. The prohibitions are on the government, not the people. What we need is to restore the confidence in this country and the people that freedom works, that freedom is the solution to our problems, that our liberties ought to be protected. I had one congressman tell me once, I said, why are you voting for this bill? Why do we have to tell the people what they can do and can't do? He says, you know what? He says, people are too stupid. And believe me, that is an attitude that prevails in Washington. Anybody that advocates big government, a lot of laws, and a lot of regulations, a lot of taxation, they believe you are not capable of taking care of yourself. No, but the government's not supposed to deal with your religious values, what you put into your soul or into your mind. You're allowed to read things as you choose. But why is it that so often we think it's okay for the government to tell us what we can put in our mouths or put in our lungs or put in our body and assume that, oh, the government will take care of us. So therefore you have government at the federal level telling you, for instance, that it is your best interest that we tell you that you're not allowed to drink raw milk. That's how they're going to protect you. You know, hemp is a great product, but it competes with other products that are subsidized by the government, and they don't want competition. Hemp is related to marijuana, but if you want to smoke hemp, you need a cigarette as big as a phone pole to get anything that you would feel any changes on. And here we are on this sanity course of saying nobody can grow hemp, a fantastic product that makes many, many different products where we begged and pleaded for our farmers to grow during World War II. So it's those kind of things that spill over. In this effort to regulate behavior for so-called good reasons also has many unintended consequences. The administration can't write laws. They're not supposed to be able to write regulations or executive orders or anything else. They're not allowed to under the Constitution. We're told that the Congress writes all laws and the executive branch is not allowed to either. Why in the world have we allowed our judicial branch to write law? They shouldn't write law either. History proved the freer the market, the sounder the money, the greater prosperity, and the more people that can enjoy it. So freedom is defendable from a very practical way. Freedom does bring people together. Freedom should not be divisive. If the First Amendment says that you can say things that are controversial, you should be able to tolerate other people who are controversial too, as long as they don't impose their will or their rules and their beliefs on you. Freedom is alive and well, let me tell you. Not only do we see the movements like this, but I go constantly to the universities, and if you have a true intellectual revolution, the universities will express it, and believe me, on the campuses of this country, they care about freedom, they care about liberty, they care about our Constitution, and they are going to be the next generation. We will have no magic cure in November. We will significantly see some changes, hopefully, and that will be good. But the major challenge will be when we have a dollar financial crisis and the whole system is going to be challenged. But intellectually, the belief in liberty is growing by leaps and bounds, and you are reflecting that. So I come here with great gratitude for having been invited, but I go away with great excitement and belief and enjoyment that I know so many of you care. Thank you very much.